Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, we are here into the grand finals of the Milk and Cookies Total War Rome 2 tournament. As you all know, the two finalists in this tournament are going to be Maximus Decimus Meridius, playing as Suebi in the first game of this 5-game series, and Wolf Diplomatt, who changed his name from Mad Slinky a couple of days ago, and just to make him happy, decided to start calling him by his new name. As we all know, they both had some amazing runs to this tournament, had some really great games to show. Maximus, on his way to the finals, beat Nightcrawler, Sunjutsu, Agony Achilles, and Blademaster in the semifinals. As we move on to Diplomatt, he beat Lost Borealny in the first round, Ready Gamer, That Guy Kravos, and TGR Obelix in the semifinals. So both players have beaten a lot of really good tournament players on the way to get to the finals of this tournament. Again, going to be a best-of-5 series. And I actually introduced a new rule just to make things a little bit more interesting. I know that Attila's coming relatively soon to you guys. A lot of you are probably pretty burnt out on Rome 2 at this point, and certainly the Barbarian, same factions, Boii and Tylus and all that. So I decided to introduce one rule change that they weren't expecting into this grand finals, and that is that I completely banned Galatia, Boii, Arverni, and Tylus from the faction pool. They cannot use them in any of these games. So you will not be seeing those 4 Barbarian factions at all, completely banned. So we are going to be seeing some new faction picks from these players. So this game actually is going to be Suebi versus Carthage. Haven't seen a lot of either faction in this tournament at all, and we're going to get right into it. So Maximus Decimus Meridius has a main line of Suebi Swordmasters. Very interesting build from him. He brought no Berserkers, which is something you don't see very often from Suebi builds, but I actually really like it because the Swordmasters are going to be able to match up really well versus obviously the Gallic Warriors, but the main line of Samnites and Libyan infantry from Carthage. I think that in a straight-up infantry engagement, Suebi wins a lot of these. They are our Barbarian Rush faction, and actually he did bring the Ariovistus General, so he's going to have the Frenzied Charge ability, going to be able to get the ridiculous charge bonuses across the line and the movement speed with his Suebi Swordmasters and some of his other units. Out on the flanks, he got some Spear Levy, some Germanic Slingers, which have a great missile block chance. Suebi, in general, their shields have the best missile block chance in the game, I believe. So in a skirmish fight, even though they are going up against better Balearic Slingers, they might actually be able to do pretty well. And if he sets up in the trees right here, could get some really good skirmishing done against this Carthage main line. For Diplomatt, looks like he's got a main line of some Mercenary Gallic Warriors, a couple of those as meat shields, some late Libyan hoplites out on the flanks, but those are meat shields as well. 2 Mercenary Balearic Slingers, some Libyan infantry, and some Samnites. And then out on the flanks, it looks like some of the Germanic Scout Riders are trying to get around and harass. There are actually no elephants on the field for Carthage or Diplomatt here. So he does have a Noble Cavalry General right here. Looks like he has Warcry and Intimidate on that General, so we'll see how he uses that. But main line is going to square off here and probably going to be a little bit of skirmishing at the beginning. I think this is going to be a pretty good trade if he does trade blows with some of the Balearic Slingers for Suebi. Like I said, they have a fantastic missile block chance. Maximus on his own channel has already done a very in-depth video explaining how good the Germanic Slingers are and why that shield is so important for them. But he has 3 of those, and then they're going to be 2 Balearic Slingers trading shots with them. And we'll see how this progresses. But like I said, in a mainline engagement where it's just sword on sword, I feel like Suebi is going to have the advantage. The difference in this battle is that there's pretty much no cavalry on the field for Suebi. He has a couple Germanic Scout Riders just as the Javelin Cavalry, and they are very nice. You can just tie down enemy cav units or send them into skirmishers to suicide. But there is certainly a cavalry advantage on the field for Carthage. I believe he has the 1 Noble Cavalry and then 4 or 5 Carthaginian Cav. So if he gets those around the flanks, gets them into the back of the Swordmasters, gets rear charges after Headhunt has worn off, or the charge ability has worn off for Ariovistus General, probably going to be good for him. I said Frenzied Charge, I meant Fast Charge. And then the Pride is going to give his swords the extra armor piercing. So yeah, I think there's no question in a mainline engagement, Suebi has the advantage here. So we'll see how the Carthage main line decides to take this. He's moving up right now, and Fast Charge has been popped. And we're going to see, I really like this move from him. That was a great move from Diplomatt. So what he did here, and the cooldown on this is, well, there's actually no cooldown. Like, once you pop Fast Charge, that's it. Like, the ability lasts for a very long time, but if he doesn't run into melee combat relatively soon here, he's actually not going to get the bonus of that charge at all. Like, you can see the charge bonus went up to 52 for these Swordmasters, which is massive. But Carthage just pulled back as soon as Fast Charge got popped. So really good move from Diplomatt there, baiting that out. I don't think that Maximus is going to try to push this and I think he's going to actually end up just wasting fast charge completely, not get the charge bonus on any of his swords. So again, really good move from Diplomatt there to bait that out and then just pull back away from the engagement, because if his main line got charged by 52 charged Swordmasters, it's going to be a mass rout. Like, there's absolutely no hope of winning a melee engagement like that. So very good move from him. A little bit of skirmishing in the middle here. It is actually going, like I said, pretty well for the Germanic Slingers. One of the Balearic Slingers is already down to half strength. One of the Germanic Slingers is as well. But, I mean, these guys cost more. So definitely good trade for Suebi right now, and he's skirmishing very well at the moment. Carthaginian cavalry just hanging around. They should probably come up the middle at some point when this engagement finally does start, and try to blunt the charge of some of these Suebi Swordmasters. That's what a lot of the better players in this tournament have been doing. I think that in some instances the way they use their cavalry has not actually been super beneficial. Sometimes I've seen cavalry units during the course of this tournament go into really highly elite shock infantry, which is good, but the problem with that is that, well, no, let me rephrase that. Sometimes it goes into really kind of meat shield crap units, like the Gallic Warriors that don't have great charge bonuses, or like Lusitani Swordswomen, like that kind of thing. Like, if you send an expensive shock cav unit into a cheap sword to blunt their charge, it's not always a good trade. So we'll see if he actually does that. On the Suebi Swordmasters, I think that's probably a pretty good idea to blunt their charge, because they have 32 charge bonus. They do so much damage on the charge, and once they pop head on. So we'll see how he uses them. Uses his cavalry, but I would expect to see him try to blunt the charge of at least some of these Swordmasters with the cavalry. Does have that main line of mercenary Gallic Warriors up front as well, which is also going to be used to blunt the charge. And actually the Spear Leviers are going to go up the middle here, and the same thing is going to be happening here. He's going to just blunt the charge of some of these Gallic Warriors, prevent them from getting clean charges off from the Swordmasters. So yeah, Carthaginian Cav come right up the center into the Swordmasters. Not going to be doing too much damage. They were braced and they did throw their javelins, so not going to do a whole lot there, but he is going to pull out real quick. Main line is engaging at the moment. Some Swordmasters getting committed. Going to get their charge blunted by this Carthaginian cavalry. And main line all the way across. Going to start happening right now. So Gallic Warrior is going to rout real soon, of course. That was to be expected. Spear Levy will as well. Libyan infantry engaging some Swordmasters. Good use of getting this Libyan infantry around the flank. They are going to start... If they cut through this Spear Levy right here and get into the back of the Swordmasters, could do a lot of damage there. And actually going to do the same thing on this flank. Got the Libyan infantry around. And this will be a really good engagement over on this side. Mercenary Samurai Warriors with their 95 armor taking the engagement from the front. And then Libyan infantry coming in from behind. That should do a lot of damage to the Swordmasters here. So very good engagement from Diplomatt so far in the center. I don't think that the Swordmasters with the Pride popped is going to have any trouble making short work of this Libyan infantry with the AP damage, extra AP damage from Pride. And actually these Libyan infantry are not even facing the correct way. They're in shield wall, but they're literally facing the wrong way. So they didn't get a great charge bonus off them, so they're still actually fighting for a while, but yeah, they're actually facing the wrong way there. Germanic Scout Riders in the back just to ward off enemy cavalry, make sure they don't get into the Germanic Slingers, but actually one of this cav unit did. Spear Levy are blocking their charge though, so this cav should rat off the field relatively soon. Swordmasters in the center doing a ton of damage, only lost 2 men, have 50 kills at the moment, and some good hammer and anvil so far from the Carthaginian cavalry. Gonna try to pull out into the Germanic Slingers, get them off the field. This won't be super easy for them though, they didn't get a good charge bonus, and like I said, these Germanic Slingers have a good shield value, so they might be able to survive for a while here. And if that cav unit gets tied down for too long, that might be a problem. Noble Cavalry, though, in the back, continuing to hammer and anvil. Not a great charge. He didn't really pull them back and make sure the entire unit was compact before he charged in. So that didn't do too much damage, but they've done they're doing something right now, and that morale penalty is important. 2 Mercenary Gallic Warriors have come back from routing 2 of the meat shields in the beginning. And the Balearic Slingers are now shooting into the Swordmasters. Doing quite a bit of damage, actually, on this Swordmaster right here. Shooting into their flank. Shields aren't really blocking that. And Libyans are just kind of taking the engagement while the skirmishers pour in on them. Main line for Carthage is faltering a little bit in the center. But on the flank, he routed that Swordmaster. So he's going to try to collapse in. The engagements on the flanks, I think, are where Diplomatt has done really well so far. But in the center, yeah, he's starting to break. And I think he needs to get these Gallic Warriors in. Make sure they get their charge bonus on these Swordmasters right here. Gonna pull his general out. There's yellow morale in the noble cavalry. I'm wondering if the general is dead at this point. No, General's not dead at this point, but he is very low, and now he might have just died right there. That took a big jab throw from the Swordmasters. I think he missed microed here. Yep, he lost track of them, and even if they don't die right here, I think this unit's probably going to rout. Yep, they're off the field, so there's going to be a morale penalty there. Some of these Carthaginian units are disciplined, so it's not the biggest deal, but you still don't want to take that morale penalty later in the battle. And he actually left the Balearic Slingers unsupported here. Germanic Scout Rider's going to get into the back of them, and with that morale penalty from the General routing recently, they're going to rout off the field. Great move from Maximus right there. Going to get the skirmishers off the field, and that's big. This is taking a clean turn in Suebi's favor. He's taking some really good engagements. That was big right there, taking those skirmishers off the field. That was huge. Swordmaster's still alive. The General's still alive. For Suebi, they're down to half strength, but they're in a really good position here to get a rear charge into the back of that Libyan infantry if he so chooses. But instead he's going to send them into the Carthaginian cavalry. Not going to brace, but they are on headhunt, so they're going to do quite a bit of damage on that charge anyway. Carthaginian cavalry going to pull out, but he's losing a lot of his tools. Diplomat doesn't have a whole lot left. Balance bar is shifting in Suebi's favor for sure, and there's a lot of swords left on the field. Mercenary Samurai warriors getting beaten to hell. Not going to be able to beat Swordmasters in melee combat at this point. So it's up to the cavalry, but I really don't think he has enough left on the field to really turn the battle in his favor at this point. Going to try to hammer an anvil with this Carthaginian cavalry. Get into the back of the Swordmasters. Should be a good charge here. Yeah, very good charge. But I don't think it's going to be enough to rout these Swordmasters. They are elite, of course. Very good morale. Actually, they're starting to waver. These are down to 22. They're in red morale. In the center here, though, Libyan infantry and Carthaginian cavalry getting beaten up as well. So this is definitely in Suebi's favor at the moment. Barring a miracle here, I think Suebi's probably got this in the bag. It is always interesting to see when the balance bar actually shifts on Rome 2, because sometimes it's very clearly in someone's favor, and I mean the balance bar is reflecting that, but I don't think there's a whole lot of chance for Carthage at this point. There's 77, Swordmasters 51, 41, and then a bunch of skirmishers and some Jav cavalets in the field as well. So really well played from Maximus there. I think he... Well, one, I'd like to say Diplomat did an amazing job with that bait to get the fast charge out early. The Suebi charge actually did... The fast charge did nothing for Suebi. If you've ever seen the effect that fast charge and pride can have on a Suebi rush build, it can be absolutely devastating. And on a patch where morale shocks aren't necessarily the biggest deal, where morale isn't really as wonky as it used to be and you can't manipulate it as much as you used to be able to on earlier patches, it's one of the few combination of abilities that can really cause a mass rout. Getting a great fast charge off, you get it on a bunch of Swordmasters or Berserkers, get them into melee combat with any infantry units, and you're probably going to shred them. So really good use of, or bait of the fast charge there from Diplomat. He ran forward, pretended like he wanted to take an infantry engagement, and then just pulled back and let the cooldown go off. And so they didn't get a good charge bonus off, or at least not as good as they would have otherwise. And I think that made the infantry engagement a lot easier for him. It was still not going to be easy dealing with 6 Swordmasters. But it was a very nice move from him. I think that Maximus did a great job with the Germanic Scout Riders getting into the skirmishers. That was very, very important later on in the game. I think that those Balearic Slingers, if given the time to shoot into some of those Swordmasters, probably could have made a huge impact. But he managed to get it around the flank. Diplomat made a little bit of a mistake not leaving a cheap late Libyan hoplite or something back there to prevent that kind of charge, and it ended up doing a lot of damage there. Swordmasters in general did amazing. You kind of expect that against Libyan infantry and Samnites. Those are good sword units, but they're not going to beat Swordmasters one-on-one in melee. So 256 kills, 243 kills, 191. Great use of the Swordmasters there. They just kind of went right up the middle and tanked. I didn't mention the Hex Bearers, actually. That was a nice little move there. I don't know that it affected the battle too much, but I did see they used their war cry on a cavalry unit earlier in the battle. And it caused them to start wavering much earlier than they normally would have. So that was a decent use right there from the Suebi Hex Bearers. Don't see them very often anymore. As you guys know, a couple patches ago, there was the OP Suebi scare build with the Hex Bearers that was absolutely insane. And I still sometimes kind of miss that. Really, really fun build. You basically just let the morale, the fear effect from the Berserkers and from the war cry on the Hex Bearers stack up. And it just caused mass routs. It was absolutely ridiculous. Can't do that anymore. But still a very useful ability. The Screech, the negative morale penalty, can definitely turn infantry engagements in your favor. Yeah, I think the cavalry in general, pretty good use of them from Diplomat, but it's really hard on this patch, as you guys know, killing mid-tier or elite-tier sword units with hammer and anvils with melee cavalry doesn't always work. And I think that some of these guys went up the middle, and they stopped the Suebi Swordmasters from getting their great charge bonuses off, which is nice. But then you kind of lose the killing power from the Carthaginian cavalry, and maybe if they were full strength instead of half strength or a quarter strength when they were hammer and anviling, maybe that would have been better. But I don't know. I think the meat shield meta does work pretty well. These guys can stop the charge bonus of the Swordmasters, and then if you keep your cavalry more full strength and get them on their flanks, maybe that would have been a better use than sending them right up the middle and taking all those javelin throws from the swords. But either way, good game for both players. Really interesting combination of builds. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of Suebi or Carthage in this tournament, so was happy to see that. And trust me, guys, there are a lot of really interesting picks coming up in this matchup. Remember, it's best of 5, so first one to win 3 games will be the winner of the grand finals in the Milk and Cookies Rome 2 tournament. So hope you guys enjoyed game 1. Lots more good content coming, and I will bring you game 2 soon. See you all later. Any Pride signing out.